Mr. Kher.
So wonderfully said. Thank you. Thank you.
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this very, very special endeavor. And at the outset, I have to thank the Union Ministers who spared the time from their busy schedule to make this conversation happen. And also, one of them has spared their residence and their lawns for us to have this conversation in the winter sun. So, Dr. Jitendra Singh ji, namaste, and thank you very much at the outset. And Murleedharan ji, thank you so much. Murleedharan ji, thank you so much for making the time and having this conversation. The endeavor, ladies and gentlemen, is to ask them, those who are part of government, those who are also active Karyakartas of the party as in the BJP, what their challenges are looking ahead into 2023, but more importantly, reflect on this very eventful year that is 2022 that's past us. The year that we emerged out of the pandemic, the year that the Prime Minister set a roadmap for us as our Azadi ka Amrit Kaal, the year when we completed 75 years of independence. So there's a lot that's happened. Let's start with the electoral gains and political aspect. 2022, Dr. Jitendra Singh started with elections. 2022 has ended with elections. And if you look at the scorecard, it's 5 for the BJP, 1 for Aam Aadmi Party and 1 for the Congress Party. Would you look at it as a successful year electorally for you?
No, certainly also because under Prime Minister Modi, there have been many firsts, both in governance, in government, as well as in the electoral politics. I think this is for the first time Modi ji has given us a model which is sustainable. It has sustained for the last 21-22 years. He being the longest serving head of the government, first as Chief Minister and then as Prime Minister. So this is a model of governance, also model of a political culture which has sustained over 2 decades and promises to sustain even in future. The second hallmark of this is that it has defied the principle of diminishing returns. Any model, whatever be the domain, tends to lose its shine, also its acceptance with the passage of time. Here, he has provided a model which provides increasing dividends with each passing day, both electorally, also governance, also as far as India's esteem in the international fora is concerned. So I think this is a kind of a landmark year or also a turning point as India completes its 75 years of independence, both in terms of governance as far as our approach towards handling both matters related to government are concerned and also politics as well. And I think this is also a year which has given us huge esteem as we move on in the course of conversation in the various departments, in the various areas which have raised India's stature. Now, for example, now I'll quote one example and then we can move on. Space technology. Our space journey started when Russia or the then Soviet Union and USA were on the verge of landing a human being on the surface of moon. And we were just starting. We were just singing nursery rhymes, Chande Mama Dur Ke and all that.
Correct.
But so much of potential and passion was there among the founding fathers, Sarabhai and others. And Prime Minister Modi, after he took over, gave it a quantum jump by liberalizing certain barriers, by doing away with the taboos of the past, by opening the space department to the private sector.
Yeah.
The result today is that we have so far launched as many as about 385 foreign satellites. And you will be amazed when I tell you out of 386, 351 have been launched during the Modi regime. So almost 90% of the foreign satellites launched during this regime. We have earned about 220 euros out of this, out of which 187 million euros earned during
so 220 million euros and about 187 million euros have come.
And if you take in the terms of the American satellites, because I mean it's a matter of pride that you are also launching US satellites, out of $115 million made so far, 98 have been earned during this regime of last 8 years. So it was 90% of foreign satellites. So much of credibility, so much of trust has been, earned during the Modi era.
I think it started when the PM said that at the, what costs a Hollywood movie like Gravity, for a lesser cost, we were able to send a ship towards Mars, and India becomes an active space market. So obviously, it adds to the levels. But I'll go back to the electoral aspect, that a lot of it is happening towards the north of India. South of the Vindhyas, the Prime Minister, after 29, his first 19 victory, one of his first trips was to Guruvayur. South, there is engagement with Tamil, trying to push Tamil as a language. But is the BJP electorally still vulnerable south of the Vindhyas, Murleedharan ji? Let's start from there.
No, I would say that during the last 1 year, there has not been many elections, or there has not been a general election in South. But South, I am definitely of the view that, say for example, I would consider Telangana and of course Karnataka being with us. It will definitely continue to be with us.
There's a flux there, so that's why I'm asking in terms of leadership.
See, before every 5-year term ends, there has been such happenings have been there. But ultimately, once the assembly elections happen, I am sure that Karnataka we will be able to retain it with us. And along with that, I would say that all the other 3 states, 4 states in that sense. Telangana is of course making really good progress. Tamil Nadu for the first time, because Kerala, Andhra, BJP has been there. Tamil Nadu BJP, even though we had won some seats with the support of our alliance partners, now for the first time, Tamil Nadu BJP has been able to become the primary opposition party, raising issues of corruption against the DMK government. And now nobody can accuse BJP that it is a North Indian party. Because Narendra Modi is the only Prime Minister in the history of India who has in every occasion, who has been quoting from Tamil scriptures, Tirukural, Tiruvalluvar, all this, he has been speaking on these aspects not only domestically, even in international fora. In UN, Prime Minister has spoken many times. So Tamil people now don't feel that the campaign by the other parties, that this party is not belonging to the South Indian culture, Dravidian culture, it is some North Indian party trying to impose Hindi. That is only a political campaign now. People don't take that. So that's why I feel that in the coming election, when 24 Lok Sabha election happens, we will have good progress, we will have good gains in all these states.
Yeah, I am asking you that, and I'll start with you and then I'll come to Jitendra Singh ji, is because 2019 elections, soon after that, the target for Lok Sabha 2024 was set at nearly 330 seats. For that to happen, then this entire belt of 7-8 states, say Odisha, Andhra, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, these states have to really contribute bulk of the numbers. Otherwise, that number is not going to be achievable. You think that is going to happen, and you
will
think
see
that
you will see that
taken.
happening. You will see the. I think it would not be proper for me to explain the contours of that. But 23, you will see a lot of things happening.
You see,
Prior to the election.
so you are saying 23, a lot of things will happen
Yes.
prior to the elections. But the same challenge also comes in terms of retaining your existing belt. So now,
No, certainly, I think to add to what Murli ji was saying, Modi ji is our greatest asset. Asset for the nation, for the people of India, and also for the party. And even if you rise above the political lines, I think there is one Prime Minister, if you research over the last 75 years, who has the capacity to bind the entire heterogeneous Indian subcontinent into a single cord. We have seen him traveling north, south, even northeast.
Yeah.
So wherever he goes, regardless of whether the state is being ruled by the BJP or even other party, people, queue around just to welcome him. So he's kind of a common cord running. And in a country as heterogeneous as India, which is very difficult to, because you have hundreds of lifestyles, hundreds of food cultures, dress preferences, and we have seen prime ministers in the past. Some of them had their catchment area in central India, some of them primarily in north, some of the, but you didn't have a pan-India presence. Now, from my experience in Northeast, I tell you, in 2014 when the just government came in, and we used to organize, and Prime Minister, I think in his first term itself visited Northeast at least 50 times. So a lot of effort and a lot of, commitment has gone behind. It was more, number of times he visited Northeast so far is more than the number of times put together of all the Prime Ministers in the past. And even some of the remotest states.
Yeah.
So he has actually struck a chord, heart to heart, emotional chord. So I'll tell you, in the early years, in 2014 itself, he was to come to Meghalaya, which was then ruled by another party, other people. We didn't have much of a base politically as a party. We also requested for a rally, which we got, and we were then apprehensive, how would we manage? But believe me, without any effort from our side, when Modi ji landed there were small school children in their beautiful uniforms queuing up right from the airport up to the destination, holding hands, like these small children do, and wearing masks with Modi ji's face. So I think that is something, and it's been a great advantage for this country. That's a turning point. You have, as a head of government, somebody who is equally, identified with across the country by all sections, by all kinds of people.
So it's fantastic that we have somebody, or the party has somebody like a leader like Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But let me ask you, are you caught between your duties as in governance and government and also as a party karyakarta? Because Bharat is perennially in an electoral mode. So does that...
No, I don't think so, because I feel both are complementary. In the sense that Prime Minister has been always focusing on party becoming a bridge between the people and the government. So as functionaries in the government, it gives us exposure to the common man. If I am not a party worker and I am limited to only my governmental duties, I would be cut off from the society, or I would be cut off from the hard realities of the society. So when I travel as a party karyakarta, beyond what I am a minister, it gives me a lot of inputs, exposure, which we try to solve through the government mechanism. So I have never felt that I am away from the party or I am away from the government. So for example, when I travel anywhere in the country, people come to me because I deal with passport organization. So people come to me issues related to passport, people come to me issues related to their problems abroad. So these issues, ultimately, it gives me those inputs and I have to solve it through the mechanism of the government. So I have never felt that that's a big issue.
But let me ask you this. 2022 also saw India change its posture strategically. When we tried to be equidistant in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, we tried to say that we are neither aligned with the US nor aligned with Russia. Where we tried to say we want to do, External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar talked about multilateralism and a multilateral, multipolar world. So India was exercising a certain level of strategic autonomy. Did that come at a cost? Is that coming at a cost for Bharat?
I don't think that, because this is not something that has been newly formulated in 2022. It has been there earlier also. For example, we were part of Quads.
Correct.
We were also part of BRICS, where both Russia and China is there. And on this side, we have Australia and US. So we are now become a country which has got connection with every other country in the world. And including the advanced economies or the developing nations, they consider that India is the link between them. So whether it is Africa or whether it is the advanced economies like US or UK or Russia or even China, we are on our terms. But it doesn't mean that we are on with somebody and against somebody. So when Ukraine happened, we are on talking terms with both.
Correct.
That is why Prime Minister is the only leader in the whole world who could tell Russians that this is not the era of war and diplomacy and dialogue is the solution. So that's the greatest strength of India. So that strength of India is now being appreciated. Many of these, since I am more in charge of Africa, many of the heads of states, the governments and heads of states of Africa has told me that Indian Prime Minister is the only person who can speak like this. And India can, even Pakistani leaders have been appreciating that India has been able to hold on to
Correct.
its position.
Correct.
So that's, in fact, it has not come at a cost. Of course, we have been taking that view in the true spirit of that, because we want consensus to be built across the world. So contentious issues, now people look to us, that India should take the lead.
Yeah, but these are also nations from where narratives like RSS, BJP's political Hindutva, Hindu fascist, Hindu nationalist leader, Hindu nationalist party, these kind of narratives are also spun. So, do you encounter that in your dealings, because you are also saddling a gamut of other, ministries?
Anand, now, as far as the issue that you were discussing with Murliji, I think in the international fora also, and that has a bearing on these perceptions which they carry about India. We often we often also refer that Prime Minister Modi is the longest serving head of government.
Yeah.
What is not often referred to is that he is also among the senior most leaders in the world, senior most heads of government. During Modi's tenure, you've seen presidencies changing in USA. You have seen prime ministers changing one after the other in UK, in all the other countries as well. So he is also looked upon as a kind of person who would give them cues, also
He's a
show
global
them
leader.
As a global leader.
global leader who can also give a lead. And I would say that world today is also ready to be led by India under Modi. Now it's up to us, the commoners, to prepare ourselves, to contribute to that role under Prime Minister Modi. So that is one aspect. So that is also leading on to the change of perception. Because if there are perceptions like this about BJP, it's also because we didn't get much of an exposure. For about half a century, we were not in power. And as far as you were asking about the Karyakarta, I think one peculiar feature of BJP is that once a Karyakarta, always a Karyakarta. His responsibility may change, his position may change, but that remains ingrained. And as was rightly being said by Murliji, because BJP is a party totally dedicated to the cause of nation, and therefore government becomes an instrument to carry forward that agenda of our organization. And these perceptions were created by those vested interests who wanted to keep this organization away.
Correct.
Because they were feeling threatened from this ideology which was so much grounded in Mother India. Now I tell you, in 2014 when I went to the Northeast the first time, I had never been to Northeast before that. That was the first time when I landed in Guwahati. I was wearing all woolens because I thought largest river of the country, Brahmaputra, and I know how thund it would be. And then I realized that it was,
quite equatorial the climate is.
Moderate throughout the year, so I had to remove all. But there I realized so much of perception कि अब ये बीजेपी वाले आ गए हैं, आरएसएस वाले आ गए, हमारा मीट बंद करा देंगे, हमारा खान पान, हमारा रसोई. So it took a lot of effort actually for us. We would tell them, I was visiting houses of all and sundry, and I would ask them, now I had meal with you, did I peep into your kitchen? So that perception was by motivation created. When we set up, for example, our under the presidentship of Amrit Shah, a campaign was taken up to have one, BJP office, district level, on all these states. And in Northeast, we didn't have in the state level. First time when it was set up in Mizoram, to begin with, we couldn't even find office bearers. So then, with a lot of effort, we had one senior person, a lady, who accepted to become the president of the Mahila Morcha. And since this process was going on, so in 2 months' time, I went there about thrice. When I was there the third time, she said, I want to have a word with you separately. And she took me aside and she said, now this is your third visit in 2 months, and there's a whisper going around that you are coming here because there is a plan to start conversion. I said, ma'am, do you think so? She said, no, I know it's not like that. But this is something which is being built up. So what is the answer that I have to do? I said, if you have to give the answer, then the answer, the best answer would be that if this was our agenda, then this would be a country of 130 million Hindus, which is not so. Mizoram is, virtually a Christian state.
Yeah.
So I think
those
now
those who
people
ran the conversion over the decades were now coming out to say that
Yes,
BJP is coming
exactly.
to
So
do
it's,
conversion.
yeah, the pot calling the kettle black for vested reasons. And with Prime Minister Modi having, gained acceptability across these sections, this has helped. His presence has helped us also to get over this misperceptions which were being created about this organization.
Right.
And adding on to what Jitendra Singh ji mentioned, to your question of these narratives being spun from these countries, I won't say that any country as such is trying to spin this narrative. Of course, there are people, some of them our neighbors, who are trying to use some groups in some of these countries to set this narrative. But those countries as such, the governments, they understand the position of India and they are very clear that India is not trying to become a sort of at their cost or this according to this narrative. So India has been considering, as the Prime Minister mentioned this time in G20 slogan,
Yeah.
it
One
is
earth.
one world, one future, one family. So Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is the concept of India. So that everybody understands. There is no issue in that. Because we are the only country which has come to the help of those who were in need. Whether it was during disasters, whether it is for connectivity, whether it is for infrastructure projects, or when the world was facing the pandemic.
But how is it that this narrative of this RSS BJP, Hindutva nationalist, fascist forces, he's a Hindu nationalist prime minister. Now, these are terms which are used by top, magazines and top voices there. And it gets echoed over in Pakistan. Similar stories said down in Kerala. Similar stories said by other voices in the opposition. How is this
No,
continuing?
that's why either Pakistan is picking up from what opposition politicians are doing here, or opposition politicians are picking up from what Pakistan is trying to say. Either way, it's not good for the country. But at the global level, except Pakistan, you won't find a single country who is saying that India is now under the control of RSS. RSS is dictating terms, or RSS is trying to set a fascist agenda. This nobody is saying.
Quite in contrast.
And in fact, in the Organization of Islamic Countries, there Pakistan was trying to use that OIC. There were opposition from Muslim countries. So even Pakistan had to say that even among Muslim countries, there are people who are supporting India.
India.
So that's it is only an effort, feeble effort.
No,
by
what I was trying to add to that is quite in contrast to the popular perception which was thought to be made out of vested interest purely.
Ji.
You would see in the 8 years of the Modi rule, what all has been done for the minorities, for the weaker sections, for the scheduled castes, was not done in the earlier 70 years. Whether it is triple talaq, whether it is a huge lot of series of reforms for tribal community, for scheduled caste. This is done only now.
No.
Whereas it's the Congress which is painting us as anti-Muslim, anti-scheduled. But much has been done, much more than what they did. Rather, they were exploiting the sentiment to their advantage. They would get into alliance with the Shiv Sena in Kerala once upon a time. They would get alliance with the Muslim League in the other place. So they had no ideology at all. There was no conviction. We have worked with the courage of conviction. And the other part of it is that I think there is also now the indication of the people's mindset not ready to accept this false myths being created about BJP is also evident from one small example I'll give you. Whenever a dignitary from center visited Kashmir Valley in the past, just go through the last 3 decades of it, Pakistan would give a hartal call and shops would shut down in Srinagar.
Correct.
But now you see, Recently, Mr. Amit Shah was there in a very successful 3 days trip.
Yeah.
He held a series of public rallies, hugely attended. Not a single shop closed down.
Shut down.
Similarly, we saw earlier there was a visit by the Raksha Mantri. So it's the other way around. The common man now, and I think that's the biggest, change happening, is not ready to accept this false perception
This
which is being
narrative.
sought to be created about BJP or RSS.
So you're
See,
saying
they
that
were only, the others, the opposition parties were only trying to talk. They were only talking, they were not doing.
So you're saying that BJP is not an anti-Muslim party, or Muslims
We
don't
are-
vote for the BJP. This narrative, would you accept
I
or
would
challenge
say
it?
that we don't believe in appeasement of anybody for the sake of votes.
Votes, okay.
We consider everyone as equal citizens.
It's a appeasement of none and
Yeah.
justice for all.
Justice for all.
And we
Governance
followed a
for all.
policy
That
of,
is-
and I
that's
think
the- we are walking that.
when I said the change in political culture, I think one of the hallmarks is under Prime Minister Modi, we have tried to reach out those who actually required us, regardless of their religion, caste, creed, not even asked whether they voted for us or not.
Yeah.
Now I'll give you another example. In Mizoram, for example, I think in 2017, I learned that now there was a technology, there was specialized fruit parks.
Correct.
And Israel was, trying to install these units. Mr. Cameron was the ambassador, so I got in touch with him. He said, yes, we have. So I asked him where was the most suitable place for you to set up one. He said Mizoram. And the first such specialized citrus fruit park was set up in Mizoram.
Mizoram.
Now, Mizoram is a state where we hardly have any MLA or any government being formed, in near future or ahead. But regardless of that, that is what Prime Minister Modi has sought to, propagate and sought to create an atmosphere. Then leave it to the people whom they vote for.
Correct.
And as Murli ji is rightly saying, people have now begun to realize that we are working with a certain conviction, certain courage of conviction, and very objective parameters. Like, for example, it was Prime Minister Modi who gave us the concept of aspirational districts.
Correct.
No longer backward districts. What was backward district? The Congress party would create backward districts, and backward district was my district, his district. Whoever was the minister had one district from his constituency. If I became railway minister, the first thing I would do is to set up a railway station in my village, regardless of whether there were passengers or not. Modi ji has done away with that. That's why I said he's broken many of the taboos of the past and taken, out-of-box decisions. Now, aspirational district is a concept based totally on objective parameters, about 41 indices.
Correct.
And separate indices, health, sanitation, education, etc. Startup. Prime Minister said from the Red Fort, stand up India, start up India. And is it not amazing that before Prime Minister Modi came in, we hardly had 350 startups in India. Today we have almost 80,000 and more than 100 unicorns. Biotechnology sector, we had only 50 startups, only 50. Today we have nearly 5,500.
55.
And that's all. And we are the one in India in biotechnology who have come out with the first DNA vaccine, first nasal vaccine. So I think a lot of effort and a lot of persistent micro-management follow-up done by Prime Minister Modi.
How much did our...
See,
yeah, please. Yeah.
In that, I would say, in one single word, Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji didn't take any decision on subjective considerations. He integrated technology with governance.
Okay.
So that every decision is objective, every decision is transparent, every decision is democratic. So that answers all these questions. Region, religion, community, caste, this is not at all a criterion. So, because technology doesn't understand all these things.
Correct. So if that is
No,
working...
that has also helped the change of mindset, not only in the political class, even in the masses. I tell you, once this aspiration district list came out in the newspapers, since I was to an extent involved in this, I started receiving phone calls from my constituency. अरे साहब, क्या फायदा आप दिल्ली बैठे हैं?
हमारा नाम नहीं है।
आप अपने क्षेत्र का एक भी जिला नहीं बीच में पड़ा. So it took me some effort to explain to them, look here, airs have changed.
Yeah.
It's now Modi era.
So
It's
just
not that-
because I'm in government does not mean that
my district will be taken.
So that you have to do from your own MP large funds or whatever the local people who do. But let me ask you, Murleedharan ji, Kerala continues to be a very interesting conundrum. And because in terms of density, maximum number of shakhas of the RSS, so by default the political offshoot BJP should be strong, but that's not the case. The whole jugular or the whole game seems to be between the left and the Congress. Why is it that the BJP has not been able to crack Kerala?
The thing is, I think sometimes the calculation or the assumptions that wherever RSS is strong, BJP should come to power If that is the case, then how come in states where BJP has come to power, even
is no
without
RSS.
RSS is very strong, they have come. So these are all different. This is a different permutation and combination. Kerala, the Sangha Shakha work or the Sangha activity, that's a different thing. RSS doesn't try to bring any political party to power or dethrone it. RSS objective is to strengthen the nation, strengthen the society, organize the Hindu society. So that work Kerala RSS is doing, and it is doing extremely well. That is why in Kerala many of the now the terrorist elements who are there, they are now being opposed now.
Okay.
If RSS had not been there, Hindu society in Kerala would not have been able to live with self-esteem. Hindu society would have got converted. It has not happened in spite of all these odds. Is because RSS is.
Interestingly, it's not just the Hindu society, even the Christian community is up at arms in terms of the issue of love jihad, the issue of narco jihad, has all been raised by the Christian forums.
I don't want to name the person, but recently a Christian bishop told that 18,000 Christian girls have got converted through marriages. So they are also worried.
But does this also pose a problem for you? Because a lot of them are actually leaving the country and reportedly going to Syria, going to work with ISIS. And some of them are also ISIS widows. There is a story about that. So does that pose a problem for you?
Of course, that's a concern for the entire Kerala and the whole country. And unfortunately, the Congress and the CPM has been with their covert support, all this has been happening. So the political climate in Kerala, that is the reason for such things continuing. So people are now slowly realizing, and I am sure that people will come to the conclusion that a political party which is wedded to the nationalist ideology, only such a party, if it comes to power, can all these malaise be stopped.
I'm going to take another 10 minutes and we'll get into some more of the conversations which I wanted to have. One of the aspects, Murleedharan ji, although you say your domain is largely Africa nations, is China. Has India been able to crack the equation with China? Because every time they say, let's work together, they come and stab us, they come and attack us, there is salami slicing. China is also the big elephant in the room where every nation wants to look beyond it, but you can't. It's integral to G20, it's integral to BRICS, it's integral there. And it's also continuing with its wolf warrior diplomacy. So what's the answer to China?
See, we engage with China at all levels. Even when there is a conflict on the borders, we have taken the view that the solution to any such conflict is through dialogue. So the military commanders are talking to each other. But we have also mentioned that unilaterally changing the borders, we don't agree with that, we object to that. But the engagement has to continue. So on the one hand that is going on. On the other hand, at the economic front, see why China has gained such a supremacy in trade balances or anything related to India is during the UPA period, a lot of concessions were made.
Right.
So till then, the balance of payments or balance of trade that was there was something different till 2004. And from 2004 to 14, the entire thing got changed. So on one fine morning from 14 to now at this stage, I don't think that it would be possible for one fine morning, the entire thing will get changed.
Right.
But the Prime Minister's call for self-reliant India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, that is finding traction among the youth, among the community at large. And I am sure that India will definitely become a developed nation as the Prime Minister's, heeding the Prime Minister's call. And in the coming days, we will be making changes, whatever is required in all realms of governance, which will help businesses to grow, trade to grow in India, and India becomes a much greater economic power.
But this is a time-taking process. It's not going to happen overnight. And amid that, are we should we be ready for a conflict with China? Should we be ready
See,
for China to try and push us back
See,
by forcing us into
I won't
conflict?
be the person to say whether we should be ready for the conflict. But our common view by anybody is that, see, the armed forces have always said that they are always under preparedness.
Right.
That any country cannot afford not to do that. So they are always under the state of preparedness. But at the same time, we need to engage with them over talks across the table and see that they don't resort to any type of adventurism.
And now let me just bring that to Jitendra Singh ji, because his domain is Jammu and Kashmir. He's from there. And the place or the theatre of action where we would look at a two-front war is Jammu, Kashmir, Ladakh, Himachal. This is that region. So how settled is Jammu and Kashmir at the moment? And in the spring of 2023, are we looking at elections there?
No, see, how settled are is more known by the fact that this year we had the heaviest ever tourist season. Home tourism was not very popular in Kashmir Valley. This time, not only it gained popularity, it got exhausted. People didn't have accommodation in their houses.
Correct.
And some of the hotels started charging exorbitantly. There had to be interventions to check them. So that's the kind of, popularity suddenly that has come out. Because I always used to say for the last 3-4 years that a common man walking in the streets of Srinagar, the lanes of Srinagar, wants to move on as a part of the development journey led by Prime Minister Modi. It's only a wheel of fear which prevents him. Also because, very much like Kerala, the youth of Kashmir is highly aspirational, very forward-looking. And he has the wisdom and the intuition to sense the opportunities of tomorrow. And he doesn't want to miss the bus, the kind of, opportunities that have been initiated by Prime Minister Modi across the country. You have now toppers in civil services, toppers in IIT, JEs, in all the... So, that has suddenly now come out after, the security situation improved. We don't have any stone peltings for the last so many years. As I said, Hartal call was given for Pakistan, the shops will be shut. So, that era of those diktats is over. The perpetrators of that diktats are also either exhausted or fatigued or have been, they have found their losing their receptivity among the masses. And that is exactly the change now. I think the change at the mass level, which is happening.
So you're saying society is changing.
And I can see that in the next 2023, as you say, or I would say in the next 25 years, I've been holding this view with a certain amount of conviction and research. When Prime Minister Modi says Amrit Kal, in the next 25 years, India would be reaching the top when we are a century-old independent country. The entire value addition to our economy is going to be done by these hill states and coastal states. And I have a scientific reason. Because, see, all the Himalayan resources have so far remained unexplored, which is Jammu, Kashmir, Himachal, Uttarakhand, Arunachal. We have a huge aroma. Recently, we launched Aroma Mission, lavender entrepreneurship. Those are the startups who have taken up because there's a new genre of agri-tech startups.
Correct.
They are rolling in millions. Similarly, the coastal area. It is this time, for the first time in 75 years, that Deep Ocean Mission or Deep Sea Mission found a mention in the Independence Day address of Prime Minister. For 2 consecutive years, 2021, 2022. Because there's a realization at all levels that these resources have remained. We have the largest coastal area in the world, 7,500 kilometers long. We are the only country which have an ocean named after us. I was telling some friends from Australia the other day, I said, you come from a place which is a country, which is a continent, which is an island. But your ocean is not named Australia. My ocean is named because my ancestors knew there's so much of,
wealth here.
Sampati.
Wealth. And I think the Jambudvipa was understood as the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, we have both living, non-living. We have the fisheries, we have non-living minerals, metals. And so entire contribution is going to come because this was unattended areas. And that is going to take India to the top.
And part of this ocean belt that you talked about also has a 56-kilometer long stretch from Pamban to Mannar. So there was an answer that you gave in Parliament. So I want you to clear the air on Ram Setu and what the government's position is on Ram Setu.
I think some mischievous people who want to create a controversy out of everything, and not your channel but others who are looking for a subject for a 9 o'clock debate and they get hungry in the morning and they'll start looking for it. The matter of fact is, all of us agree, this is a matter of faith and nobody denies the existence of Ram Setu. It's a part of our history, part of our mythology, part of our belief which has sustained us over the centuries. The answer simply said, the question was about space technology having made a headway in coming out with the evidence. So the answer simply meant to convey that space technology has already undertaken projects to work on several ancient structures, Harappan civilization, other civilization, so also Ram Setu. And they have discovered some indications of structures.
Continuity of the structure.
Structures in continuity, some shoals in continuity, which could indicate the presence of a bridge. So that, in fact, the answer substantiates the presence of bridge.
Ram Setu.
Not the other way around as some have sought to create it.
Okay, because the court said that the government has to disprove that there is Ram Setu. So is the government trying to disprove the existence
No,
of
government
Ram
has no such intention. In fact, I think this is for the first time. Let me also, that gives me an opportunity to add. Prime Minister Modi, for example, I am also looking after CSIR. In CSIR, we have a traditional knowledge library, traditional knowledge digital library, TKDL, it is known as. In the UPA government, this was set up in the early NDA government. UPA government made its role very limited. Limited its acceptability only to those who had patents. It was only recently, through a cabinet decision, Prime Minister Modi has made it accessible to all, private or public, whoever, because the idea is to combine our ancient knowledge with the modern capacities to find a synergism and the best outcomes out of that. There's a lot much to learn from our ancient knowledge and to combine with the current technology. So we have made it accessible, of course, with certain terms and conditions depending upon.
There's also work on Buddhism which is happening in terms of it's a world religion that has emanated out of India. And I remember once the Prime Minister had said Gita, Gandhi and Gautam Buddha.
Shall I tell you something? Even in the construction of the Ram Mandir, it was our technology from CSIR, the heliborne technology, which was used to discover the presence of water underneath. So we are, optimally trying to synergize the modern technology with the ancient ethos and the ancient heritage.
But let me ask you, do you encounter this? Are you a very Hindutva-driven leadership? The Prime Minister is doing puja at temples, Prime Minister is doing here. So are you only pushing Hindutva as an agenda?
No,
Does that come as a...
See, Prime Minister doesn't pretend to be embracing every religion by going to mosque everywhere. Because he is a Hindu, he should practice his religion. If he doesn't do that, that will be hypocrisy. So he is not doing that. So he is true to himself. And people understand that. But it doesn't mean that he is enmity, he is inimical to any other beliefs. So because the governance he doesn't mix this. This is his personality. So this personal life, one is free to do that. One need not be apologetic in doing that. Unfortunately, what happened is, in independent India, the initial years of Congress government, they became apologetic to their own beliefs and heritage of India. That is where now the correction is happening. One need not be apologetic about one's religion or beliefs or one's heritage.
Now, for example, in the case of Somnath Temple, when the then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru tried to dissuade Babu Rajendra Prasad, the president, nobody realized that it was not only temple associated with Hinduism, it was a part of India's heritage. It had a much larger heritage. So we confined ourselves, and maybe there was some, subconscious political interest lying in that. But the same gentlemen and same people, you find them visiting temples around the election time.
Correct. Up to minister has said that the Khadao is going all across Uttar Pradesh. Bharat is taking the Khadao and Ram will come. So Rahul Gandhi is being equated to Ram also by Salman Khurshid. So that is also happening. So any thoughts there, or do you the opposition's narrative for 2020? Final two questions I am coming to.
Opposition is confused. Sometimes they feel that they should take up the Muslim cause. In between, they feel that no, BJP is completely monopolized the Hindu causes. They tried to come here also. So they are neither here nor there. So this is the same mistake that Congress leaders did earlier. They took the cause of the, tried in between to champion the cause of Ram Janmabhoomi, and in between took the view.
was done by Rajiv
Yeah, that is
Gandhi.
what I am saying.
And then
Took
on the end overturned the
Shabana
Shabano judgment.
also.
See, the point is, I think it's being gradually realized and increasingly realized that a person who is truly religious, whatever be his religion, will have reverence, respect for all religions.
All religions.
So a truly practicing Hindu will also be fair to the other religions. Unlike, this is rather a hypocrisy of religion, not the religion as such.
And for us, we don't mix religion and one's personal beliefs into governance.
Governance. So you try to keep it
See,
separate.
whether it
secular
is
in the true sense.
Prime Minister's Awas Yojana, free gas cylinders for everyone, free water connections, or passports,
Murli ji,
any issue. Even Middle East, hundreds and thousands of Muslims are there who are, whenever they have a problem, we come to their rescue irrespective of whatever.
Because they are Indian citizens.
They are Indian citizens.
Just to add to you, we hold these Labharthi Sammelans, just to learn from the beneficiaries. So many a time in this Mahila Labharthi Sammelans, I asked them, I said, see, the gas cylinder was given depending on your requirement. Did anybody ask you what is your caste, what is your religion, or did they even ask you whether you voted for BJP or not? And in one voice, everybody says no.
No.
So that's why Prime Minister Modi has tried to cultivate a culture which is above all these.
The conversation continues with Shri V. Murleedharan and Dr. Jitendra Singh after a very, very short break. Stay with us.
Evaluation is still awaited.
So yes, a detailed evaluation is still awaited as to what is the kind of injuries that he has ascertained. But yes, what we have been told that he has a fractured leg at this point in time. Also, he has injured his back as well, and also there are injury marks on his face as well. So yes, what we have been told that Rishabh Pant initially dozed off while he was driving that car, and while he was returning from the national capital to his residence. But yes, the kind of injuries that he has sustained is definitely going to take a very, very long time for him to finally recuperate and join back the Indian team. But yes, the good news at this point in time is that he is in a very, very stable conditions, and the team of doctors that is looking into the entire matter are also very, very confident that he would be discharged from the hospital in the next few weeks, is what we have been told. But yes, the kind of incident that has happened, that has definitely sent shock waves across the globe, because remember, Rishabh Pant is a very, very popular figure and has a lot of friends when it comes to the cricket fraternity itself, because the manner in which he has been contributing to the Indian team from behind the stumps has definitely he has been able to make a lot of fans, and the kind of innings that he has played for the Indian cricket team in very, very crucial matches where he has come out and single-handedly won matches for India. So his fans are also praying that Rishabh Pant recovers at the earliest. But yes, currently the situation that it seems that yes, he has a lot of injuries, and it is going to take a very, very long time for him to recover back and get back on the playing field.
पर खच्चे उड़ गए हैं, पूरी तरह से जल गई है, आगे का हिस्सा जो है वो गाड़ी का पूरी तरह से जलकर खाक है। एक बहुत बड़ा जो है वो नुकसान यहाँ पर हो सकता था, लेकिन राहत की बात यह है कि जो खतरे से बाहर हैं ऋषभ, डॉक्टर्स की टीम जो है अभी तक उनको एग्जामिन कर पाई है। उसके बाद यही जानकारी दे रही कि पैर में उनके चोट है, थाई पोर्शन में जो है वो उनके यहाँ पर चोट लगी है, इसलिए हड्डी के जो डॉक्टर्स हैं वो लगातार उनको देख रहे हैं, उनके टेस्ट कुछ अभी होने बाकी हैं। इसके अलावा प्लास्टिक सर्जन, जैसा कि सर पे चोट के जो वीडियोस निकलकर सामने आ रहे हैं, जो जानकारी दी जा रही है, हल्की उनके सर पर चोट है और उसके लिए प्लास्टिक सर्जन की जो टीम है वो यहाँ पर देख रही है। लेकिन हाँ, जो और अदर बॉडी पार्ट्स हैं उनके बारे में अभी ये कहा जा रहा है कि वो टेस्ट के बाद ही कुछ कह पाएंगे। लेकिन हाँ, राहत की खबर यह है कि खतरे से बाहर है ऋषभ पंत, उनके तमाम फैंस जो हैं वो इस बात के लिए ईश्वर का शुक्रिया अदा कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि जो परेशानी जैसे इस खबर को मिली थी कि उनका ये एक्सीडेंट हुआ, जैसी तस्वीरें हम सब ने देखी, उसके बाद सभी लोग परेशान हो गए थे। उसके बाद रुड़की से उन्हें यहाँ लाया गया, उसके बाद सभी लोग परेशान हो गए थे। टीम यहाँ पर पूरी अंदर मौजूद है, चाहे पुलिस की टीम की बात कर ली जाए या प्रशासन की टीम की बात कर ली जाए, सभी लोग अंदर मौजूद हैं और डिटेल जानकारी यहाँ पर ली जा रही है। जी,
those visuals on your screen not only show the moment of the accident, the aftermath, and of course Rishabh Pant now recuperating. We're given to understand, Anupam, that the Chief Minister himself is also personally monitoring. We had a statement coming to the fore from Pushkar Singh Dhami's office as well.
Yeah, of course, CM is out of station today. He's in Kolkata to attend a meeting, but he has issued a statement and he has said since Rishabh also belongs to Uttarakhand and he's a famed cricketer as well as a brand ambassador of the state. So whatever help is needed from the government side, the state will provide all the help. And if he's needed to be airlifted to another higher center, or say at Delhi or some other hospital, if the family agrees, then the state will provide all the help. This was CM as a shot to Rishabh and his family members.
Yes, that assurance coming to the fore for the family members of Rishabh Pant. We also had messages pouring in on social media from cricketers, from his teammates, from former cricketers as well, going on to wish him speedy recovery. VVS Lakshman was in fact one of the first people to have actually come out on social media and confirmed that he was out of danger and that he had spoken to someone who was monitoring the situation. Now, as far as the accident in itself goes, Anupam, I believe we do not have that line with my colleague there. We'll get you more details, but these are visuals on your screens of the moment of the accident where at a high speed, Rishabh Pant's Mercedes-Benz GL series crashes into that divider. This is at Mohammadpur Jat area where he was en route Roorkee, perhaps to spend the New Year's in his hometown, which is Roorkee. He was traveling there at 5:30 a.m. this morning is when his car hit that divider, and the aftermath is what you see on the left of your screens, where you see a fireball. That's really what happened after the car hit the divider. Rishabh Pant, though, had managed to come out of his car before it was reduced to ashes, before it turned into that huge fireball that we now see. Immediate assistance was provided to him and he was taken to the hospital, first in Roorkee, then to Rishikesh. Now we're given to understand he is being brought to the Max Hospital in Dehradun, where he is recuperating, and the health bulletin is expected shortly. But for now, we can tell our viewers and for all of Rishabh Pant's fans that he is out of danger. He does, though, have certain injuries to his back and to his leg. Anshul, my colleague, is now with me for more on this. Anshul, do we know if his family members are now in Dehradun? What's the situation like there?
So yes, the family members are in Dehradun and are currently in the hospital is what we have been told, and also the CCTV visuals that we have managed to access, it clearly shows that the car in which Rishabh Pant was travelling alone was at a very, very high speed, and what the initial information from the police we are getting at this point in time, that he actually slept in that car, and that is the reason why this accident went ahead and happened. And also the manner in which the car behaved in flames also raises a lot of questions on the speed of the car at this point in time as well. But yes, support has been.
Do you believe there is over-dependence on Prime Minister Narendra Modi? Can this team, this governance, this entire unit function without Prime Minister Narendra Modi, or is Prime Minister Narendra Modi too much of an overarching factor that there is over-dependence? Because that's also not healthy. Dr. Jitendra Singh, and then...
No, I feel the other way. See, if we have someone like Prime Minister Modi, the tallest leader in the world today, undisputedly, the senior-most leader in the world today, a leader to whom the other countries look up to for cues and also for clues, what is the harm in making the best of him? We have an asset, and I think I'm not saying this only as a BJP Karyakarta, as a citizen of India. There's not much to learn from him and also to be benefited from him. And having said that, I would also add that Prime Minister Modi has the capacity to carry team with him. Murli ji will bear me out. We have these meetings, Council of Ministers. The meetings last for 6 hours, 7 hours. He would just keep listening for 2 hours and then come out with a view. which would rather be like a view of a resource person rather than a prime minister. He would allow Murliji to talk for 2 hours and then add to what he said, where Murliji will also go back thinking that, okay, this could also have been. So he is actually developing a team, and he has actually, he is known for that. He's a very good listener and a very good resource person. So I think it's unlike several other prime ministers. I don't want to mention them. We have seen prime minister who would wake up the president in the middle of night to sign an emergency paper.
Yeah,
I don't wish to name the prime minister. Was the cabinet consulted? We have the very first prime minister went to Akashvani Bhavan and declared unilateral ceasefire when the war was going on against Pakistan in 1947. Had he not done so, we would not have lost the part of Kashmir which is now known as POJK.
POJK, correct.
So we have seen such prime ministers. There's absolutely nothing dictatorial about him. He is developing a team and acting as their resource person. And I think it's a privilege to learn from him and to be led by him.
So if he's there,
I have seen him both within the country and abroad also. And as Jitendra Singh ji mentioned, he is a very good listener. He can listen for hours together and then come up with his view and his suggestions. So in a way, he has been giving us the freedom and the courage to speak up. So and he takes whatever suggestions have been given to him and then he formulates that. So I am not of the view that he is putting his ideas on all of us and then making us to do that. Instead, he is not even the ministers. Government secretaries during the last 8 years of Prime Minister's Modi ji's governance, in the entire independent India, never would have government secretaries got an opportunity to interact with Prime Ministers because he feels that the political input is required as well as the technical input.
No, can you imagine, Anand, this is for the first time, I think any Prime Minister anywhere in the world, who is every month directly interacting with the chief secretaries of the states. Yes. That Pragati program.
Yeah.
Which happens last Wednesday every month. I think the first unprecedented, unheard of, because he has a huge creative mind. He's always innovating.
And he also wants to understand the administration or the technical aspect.
And the Man Ki Baat.
Yeah.
And the MyGo.
Final question, sir. Start with you and then Dr. Jitendra Singh. What to expect in 2023? It's the new year, so to all our viewers also, what would you like to say?
I would say that this year, looking at the international level, India is going to be we are having the presidency of the G20.
Yeah.
And India's presidency of the G20, it will be people's G20. Prime Minister has said that this G20, unlike any other G20 meetings happened in the past of any other country, this is going to be in 56 locations of the country.
Yeah.
And India's diversity, India's democratic credentials, this will be on display. So this is going to be the leadership of India getting established across the world. And definitely, people getting involved in global affairs. And India will be trying to showcase some of the strengths of India, whether it is, as Prime Minister mentioned, India being the mother of democracy, or whether it is the technology that has been now utilized, the digital transformation that is happening, the activities in the field of health or agriculture. All these things will get again examined and then put before the whole world so that Indian society gets integrated with what is happening across. So definitely it's going to be a great year for India.
I know it's people's G20, but they're also saying the BJP and the PM will milk it for Lok Sabha 2024. That's the criticism.
See, that is a problem. See, opposition feels that if Prime Minister turns to the left side, they will say why he is not turning to the right. If he turns to the right side, he will say why he is not turning to the left side. So whatever he does, they will find some fault.
So you're going to leave it there. Politics will happen. Sir, 2023, what to expect?
First to add to what Modi ji is saying, of course, G20 is going to be the hallmark of 2023, and it's not only going to showcase India's prowess, India's capacity, also the individual culture, because we are a heterogeneous nation. We have this unique, exclusive feature.
I will give one more suggestion. It is also a year of the millets. Where small farmers will be taken.
And the year of the millets has been suggested by India. So second achievement after International Day for Yoga, which was also suggested by India and accepted by UNO. This is the second time happening during the Modi regime. So and I think G20 now that India is part of a global world, the parameters of growth are global, the challenges are global, the concerns are global, the redressal of these challenges also has to be with a global effort. Prime Minister Modi has shown the way of integration, synergism to the whole world. And 2023 is going to vindicate, as I said, world is ready to be led by India. Globe is ready to be led by India. And this is an occasion for us to vindicate ourselves that yes, we are under Modi ready for that role. And as 23 comes to end, there will be huge excitement about 24 when our Gaganyaan is going to, land its first Indian through an indigenous mission on the surface of the moon.
2023 comes to a close. We're also going to see Ram Mandir will happen. And then, of course, the entire crescendo build up to 2024. We, Murleedharan ji, Dr. Jitendra Singh, wonderful having this conversation.
Thank you, Anand, and thanks for bringing us together.
Happy New Year, and thank you very much.
Presented by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group. Growing legacies. Powered by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist. SMS STAR to 56677.
Good evening, you're watching Brass Tacks with me, Anusha Soni. India's star wicketkeeper and batsman Rishabh Pant met with a major accident as his Mercedes collided with a divider. He fell asleep while driving, which caused the accident. Pant was travelling from Delhi to Uttarakhand. The cricketer has suffered injuries on his back, forehead and leg. He is currently receiving treatment at the Max Hospital in Dehradun. Fortunately, he is stable, recovering well. We tell you all about the story, the chain of events, how it unfolded and much more. One of the most crucial aspects of this accident is how it affects the career of Rishabh Pant and how soon he can get back on the field. First up, a special report.
This is the moment when cricketer Rishabh Pant met with a horrific accident near Roorkee. His Mercedes collided with a divider and caught fire while he was travelling from Delhi to Uttarakhand. Pant was alone in the car and dozed off while driving.
देख सकते हैं तस्वीरों में जिस तरह से गाड़ी का जो हाल है, इस गाड़ी के हाल को देख करके ये अंदाजा लगाया जा सकता है कि हादसा कितना भयानक था। और हादसे के बाद जब इसमें आग लगी तो शायद गाड़ी की जो तस्वीर है इससे अनुमान लगा लीजिए कि कुछ भी गाड़ी में बचा नहीं है।
Pant had to break the windscreen to escape from the vehicle after it caught fire and burned to ashes.
सुबह 5 बजे की घटना है।
अच्छा, क्या पता चला आपको? फिर आपने
पहले आवाज आई जोर से, फिर उसके बाद जैसे मैं बाहर निकला तो गाड़ी में आग लगी हुई थी।
अच्छा,
तब तक मैं वहाँ पे पहुँचा गाड़ी के पास। एक गाड़ी और रोडवेज थी हरियाणा की, वो भी रुकी थी। 2 बंदे बाइक वाले थे, फिर काफी हो गए थे। तब उन्होंने निकाल लिया गाड़ी शीशा तोड़ के उनको।
गाड़ी में उस समय आग लगी हुई थी?
गाड़ी में आग लगी हुई थी।
This video of Pant right after the accident shows him bleeding but otherwise conscious. He had 2 cuts on his forehead. He suffered a ligament tear on his right knee and hurt his right wrist, ankle and toe. He also has brazen injuries on his back. Despite all this, his condition remains stable and he's been shifted to a hospital in Dehradun.
क्रिकेटर ऋषभ पंत अभी हॉस्पिटल में आए हैं और इनिशियली डॉक्टर्स की टीम उनकी देखभाल कर रही है। अंडर इवैल्यूएशन है वो, और कुछ जांचों के बाद ही हम आगे डिटेल बता पाएंगे। और फिलहाल वो स्थिर हैं और ऐसी कोई चिंता की बात अभी लग नहीं रही है।
Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Dhami spoke to Pant after the accident and said the cost of his treatment will be borne by the state.
लोगों से बात कर ली है ना, अच्छा इलाज करेंगे, अच्छी चिकित्सा वगैरह सब अच्छा होगा। तो आप चिंता मत करिएगा, मेरी शुभकामनाएं हैं ना, जल्दी ठीक हो जाएगा, घबराइएगा नहीं।
Pant has been India's regular wicketkeeper across all formats, but was recently dropped from the T20I team announced for the series against Sri Lanka. According to the police, he was lucky to survive today's crash.
Well, to discuss more about the story, joining us on the broadcast is Anurag Kulshrestha, who is the founder-president of Tracks Road Safety NGO. Harpal Singh Bedi is a senior sports journalist, is also joining us on the broadcast. Dr. Mandeep Singh Bajaj, who is a senior orthopedic from the Primus Hospital, is also with us on the show. Vimal Kumar, who is a senior sports journalist and author, is also joining us. We are also expecting Rajinder Amarnath, the former cricketer, to join us in just a bit. Dr. Bajaj, coming to you first. Prima facie, looking at the nature of injuries, fortunately, they're not as severe as they could have been. By God's grace, he's recovering well, very stable, but he's a cricketer at the end of the day. How long could a recovery really take?
So, good evening. Thank you for inviting me to your show. The thing is that Rishabh thankfully didn't have any head injury. That is the most important aspect of his accident today, that he survived this and he didn't have any head injury. Coming to the other injuries, he has got major injuries in the back, which are basically abrasions and lacerations. They will probably need some suturing and plastic surgery in near future rather, and probably they will heal in around 4 to 6 weeks time. The other part of the injury is that he has got major knee injury, which is being reported as he has got ligamentous injury in his right knee. So that thing has to be seen whether it is a single ligament injury or it's a multiple ligamentous injury. So recovery depends upon how severe the knee injury is. If it is a single ligament injury and per se, if he needs any surgical intervention for his knee, the total recovery time for that could be somewhere around from 6 weeks to 3 months, depending upon how severe the injury